planet Earth. They are beings who arrive from outer space to a planet that is entirely covered by water. Their task is to terraform it. After they have cleared the waters from the higher ground, their leader and father, Osanabuwa, appears in the sky and descends from what appears to be a chain stretching as far as the eye can see into the heavens. Osanabuwa then delegates to his sons all the subtle works of terraforming the planet, ready for human society. There are a number of things that are really interesting about the Edo story of creation. And the first is that planet Earth already exists before any of the so-called work of creation. It exists, but is flooded with water. And that is a detail that recurs in ancestral narratives all around the world. We then have the motif of the higher beings, the sky beings, coming down from the heavens, and a visual description of what that looked like when their leader, Osanabuwa, arrived, on what looked like a chain stretching into the heavens. Now, clearly, the tellers of this story are reaching for a metaphor at that point. They're trying to describe what they saw in the terms of the technology that they had. So, what was it they were seeing? An ancient Filipino narrative of creation speaks of the arrival of Tagalog, a giant bird who hovers hawk-like over the flooded waters of the planet. Tagalog then creates vortices of wind, which pull the waters away from the higher ground to create the islands. And so the work of terraforming begins. This aspect of the use of vortices of wind to clear land on a prehistoric planet Earth repeats in various narratives around the world, and not least of all the Sumerian stories, those told on the ancient cuneiforms of the Mesopotamian cultures of Sumeria, Babylonia, Arcadia, and Assyria. And when we read the Sumerian account, again, we've got the descent of beings from the heavens to planet Earth, to a planet Earth that is flooded. And the first thing they have to do is the separation of the waters, separate fresh water from salt water if they're going to nurture life on Earth, and the separation of land from water. Some technology has to be used to say to the sea, thus far and no further. And once again, we've got vortices of wind doing the work, the four winds of the Sumerian account. Is the same visual memory being told from culture to culture? And if it is, who were the eyewitnesses who recalled this ancient visitation? Francisco Jimenez was the Dominican priest who in the very early 1700s translated an ancient Quiche text which had been entrusted to him. It was the Mayan creation narrative, and it spoke of the arrival of beings from the heavens to a flooded planet Earth once again, and it's flooded and shrouded in darkness. And those who arrive hover above the waters, we're told. Hover above the waters and hold discussions as to how they're going to nurture life on Earth, botanical life, and then zoological life, and then intelligent life with which they can work. What the text leaves open is the question of what they are hovering in. But if we're willing to read these ancient mythologies alongside each other, it's actually